Information items. Fortunately, the last couple of weeks and the next couple of weeks are mostly free of any serious weather conditions. Temperatures may reach into the 60s and then dip again into the 30s, but for the most part, our weather will see temperatures in the 40s and 50s through the end of the month. This might be a good time to get outside and see what needs to be cleaned up around your property before spring. As you all know, from January through March, there will always be snow, wind, and things are going to continue to blow around. Wyoming Department of Health states that since COVID began, there have been about 151,000 positive COVID cases reported with over 135,000 recoveries. The state thus far has suffered 1,667 deaths. Goshen County has had one additional death reported in the last 2 weeks, bringing our total to 54. Fortunately, the number of positive cases is trending in a downward direction. Hopefully it will continue to fall. Community Hospital shows 5 total cases in the hospital this week. There are no patients in intensive care and no one on a ventilator. We here at the City of Torrington continue to encourage our people to get vaccinated. Being vaccinated is the single best way to keep yourself free from becoming infected and from spreading the virus to others. Please continue to be responsible and care for yourself, your family, and your co-workers by continuing to do all those things that we've advocated for the last 2 years. Call Goshen County Public Health or your health care provider for answers to your COVID-related questions or to schedule a vaccination appointment. Free COVID tests, free testing, free vaccinations are available to nearly all groups, all age groups in Torrington at this time. This past week, there's been increasing information available regarding the upcoming legislative session. I attended presentations from Representative Shelley Duncan on redistricting. The intention there is to keep the Goshen County communities together and represented by the same legislators and to avoid having Goshen County split up into 2 or 3 districts. The Association of Wyoming Community College Trustees provided Aaron Taylor, their executive director, to present information on upcoming bills that have an impact on community college and particularly those on EWC. Ashley Harpstreet, the executive director of the Wyoming Taxpayers Association, spoke providing information about Wyoming's tax structure, comparing us to how other states tax their citizens, and informing us about potential changes in taxation being discussed in the upcoming legislature. Your mayor and council will be attending the Wyoming Association of Municipalities legislative workshops in Cheyenne on the 24th and 25th of this month. Obviously, the biggest concern for us is sustainable and predictable revenue. We are dependent on the state of Wyoming for the return of sales tax receipts collected in this county. The state keeps 69% of that and returns 31% back to the municipalities. We're particularly interested in House Bill 41, which would allow a municipality to create a special district for the purpose of creating a special project. HB 42 is the direct distribution bill. The last few years, $105 million in direct distribution money has been allocated to the 99 municipalities and 23 counties across the state. We always seek dependable and predictable funding and anticipate that the direct distribution will not be reduced. The state has received $1.08 billion in Federal Recovery Act money, and the biggest task probably this year facing the legislature is how to distribute it equitably to all the deserving entities across the state. Fuel island repairs at the airport are complete, and tonight the council will consider awarding the bid for the chip seal project, which we anticipate will be completed this summer, and also the bid for a GIS survey of our electrical infrastructure. This morning, mayors of Lingle, Fort Laramie, Yoder, and representatives from LaGrange and councilmen from Torrington, representing the 5 municipalities in Goshen County, presented resolutions to the county commissioners asking for their support in allowing the public to vote on a 6th penny special purpose tax, which will be used to complete badly needed projects in each of our communities. The municipalities are asking that the issue be placed on the November 2022 ballot. Upon the advice of County Attorney Eric Boyer and the direction of the commissioners, the community or the municipalities will meet again on April 5th with cost estimates for the projects that we have planned. Hopefully it all works out. All right, next item is to approve the consent agenda, which includes minutes from the February 1, 2022 council meeting as published. And before we get to that, I tried to do this last time, and Sylvia chose not to be here, so I couldn't do it. Anyway, I want to recognize our deputy clerk, Sylvia Naya, for the professional job she does every week, every day actually. But every time she presents the minutes, they are perfect. There have never been any mistakes. She does a great job. So Sylvia, we want to thank you and recognize you for the great job that you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, the consent agenda.
I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Councilman Kenny, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Kelly, thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have approved the consent agenda. Next item is to approve the agenda, and we have no additions or corrections to the agenda.
I would move to approve the agenda.
Councilman Patterson, thank you. We have a motion on to approve on first. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Kelly, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We've approved the agenda. Thank you. All right, that'll move us to action items, and the first 5 action items that we have are public hearings. The first action item is a public hearing on a transfer of a liquor license. It's a retail liquor license transfer, and it will go from April 1, 22 to 3/31, 23. Attorney Eddington, can you advise us on this?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. What we have is an application from Elise Moak, doing business as Avincio LLC, and you will also see at the end of that application, there is a signed assignment of liquor license by Kuldip Singh, often referred to as Chima. They have entered into a sale purchase agreement. I have received a copy of that. It is certainly a substantial amount, an arm's length transaction, but it is obviously subject to a transfer of this liquor license. Ms. Moak is from Scotts Bluff. She is here if you have any questions for her. She is venturing into this thing. She currently manages the Wonderful House in the Scotts Bluff area, owns that building, and has a similar restaurant in Alliance, Nebraska, and is getting into business in Wyoming, or is certainly asking the council to approve the transfer. We believe everything is in order. Just an FYI, it's my understanding that Chima has sold each and every one of his liquor establishments, not just in Wyoming, but primarily in Nebraska, and is in the process of basically just going back into the real estate business. We believe everything is in order, and staff recommends that that you approve the transfer. In the event the transfer is approved, they will close on the real estate as soon as possible, which could be within the next 2 weeks. And if that is done prior to April 1, we're asking for an effective date of April 1. It doesn't make sense to do a license for a month or a month and a half and then renew it. So the transfer makes sense to do effective April 1. However, Chima and Ms. Moak have agreed that if the real estate is closed, they will probably do a lease agreement for the last month, wherein she will actually lease the business and try to start running it March 1 under his license, theoretically for 30 days until April 1, then it would be under her license, assuming you approve the transfer.
And we don't see any problem with that.
We'd see no problems with that.
Okay, thank you. Sylvia, do you have anything to add regarding the license?
Sure. Something to add is with this recent census that came through, we lost a retail liquor license. So this transfer will, in fact, if it goes through, it'll let us keep that additional license we would have lost otherwise. So,
Okay.
yeah, we agree.
Very good. Good
Yeah.
thing. Appreciate that. Elise, would you come to the podium? And the only reason I'm asking you to come to the podium is in the event that maybe the council has questions for you. I prepared her ahead of time that you guys were awfully rough, and she was somewhat nervous, so.
I think you've been through the hard part.
Any questions for her?
I don't. The LLC that you filed, is that strictly just a Wyoming corporation, or is that?
Yes, the Wyoming.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
My only concern that I have is not a big one. It's because we deal with this all over the place. With an absentee owner, well, not really absentee, just down the road, but with an out-of-town owner, it's crucial that you get a good manager that is very aware of what the liquor laws are in Wyoming and is prepared to follow those, so.
I will make sure that, and it's just 30-minute drive, so you're gonna see me a
No,
lot
I know.
here.
So, yes.
Anything else? Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Okay, what we'll do now is open a public hearing. In a public hearing, we'll ask if there are people here who would like to speak in favor of the transfer of the license. Once that is complete, then we'll ask if there are people here that would like to speak against the transfer of the license. Once those two have been taken care of, we'll close the public hearing, the council will vote, and we'll take action on the offer. All right, so are there people here tonight who would like to speak in favor of the transfer of this liquor license? Are there people here tonight who would like to speak in favor of the transfer of the liquor license? Is there anyone here tonight who would like to speak against it? Anyone who'd like to speak against it? See no one come to the front for either one, we'll close the public hearing. Council, we're awaiting your action.
I have one question for Jim.
Okay?
On the LLC papers, it lists you as a registered agent. Is that going to be a conflict of any kind?
It is not, because I don't have anything to do with voting on the license. I did prepare the articles for Ms. Moak for the LLC. But since that's just a legal business entity, it can do basically anything under an LLC except banking and insurance.
But if there was a conflict between the city prosecuting her for something, there would be a conflict there, wouldn't there?
It would be, and she's been informed when she first came to my office, and she came to my office because Chima told her that I worked for him, I'd done stuff for him. It was just a convenience thing, and she's been informed that if there was ever an issue with the city, it'd be a conflict and I couldn't represent her. Same as Chima, he's well aware of that also.
Okay.
And Matt, I failed to ask if you had any comments you'd like to make in regard to this?
No, I really don't have any concerns. Sylvia brings up that this is a benefit for our community to maintain another business that we'd like to keep operating. We made some inquiries in Scottsbluff and heard nothing negative at all that would cause us concern for Ms. Elisa's ability to operate the license, and we're excited to be able to work with her.
Thank you. Okay. Council, we're waiting action.
I would move to approve the transfer.
Councilman Patterson, we have a motion to approve the transfer. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Kelly, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the transfer. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You have it. Good luck.
Good luck, yeah.
See, it wasn't so bad, was it? All right, we'll move ahead. All right, items number 2A, B, C, D are other liquor license applications for which we will approve. We're going to do them by block. The first one will be retail liquor licenses. The second one will be limited club liquor licenses, then restaurant liquor licenses, and microbrewing permit dual holding license. I'll read the names of the establishments, and then we'll do a public hearing just like we did on the transfer. If there are people to speak for or against, we'll go from that. So the first public hearing will be for those entities who have retail liquor licenses. That would be 307 Sports Bar and Grill, LLC, DBA 307 Sports Bar and Grill, Old Gray Fox Incorporated, DBA Mint Bar, Carolyn Garcia, DBA La Familia Prado. Chugwater Brewing Company Incorporated, DBA J&B Liquor. Pam J. Delgado Garcia, DBA Garcia's Mexican Restaurant. Maverick Incorporated, DBA Maverick Store Number 293. The Cigarette Store, LLC, DBA Smoker Friendly Gasomat. SS&G, LLC, DBA Holiday Inn Express. The Open Barrel Brewing Company, LLC, DBA The Open Barrel Brewing Company. Torrington Hotel, LLC, DBA Torrington Cobblestone Hotel. TJL, LLC, DBA Bronco Bar. San Pedro JC, LLC, DBA San Pedro Taqueria. Crownmark, LLC, DBA Limited Edition. Those are all public retail liquor licenses. We'll open a public hearing. Are there people here tonight who wish to speak in favor of any of those licenses? Are there people here tonight who wish to speak in favor of any of those licenses? Are there people here tonight who wish to speak against? Are there people here tonight who wish to speak against? All right, hearing no one come to the counter, we will end the public hearing, and council, your action.
Mr. Eddington, I do have a question real quick. Who is Crownmark LLC? It's the last one on that list. Limited edition?
I'm going to defer to,
It's Deb Alden. It's
Oh,
Town Square
okay,
on Main
okay.
Street.
Oh, the town square.
Okay, Town Square, okay. Thank you. Thanks.
that's the newest one, I think.
Right. I would move to approve the retail liquor licenses as presented.
Thank you, Councilman Kenny. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Patterson, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the public hearing retail liquor licenses. Further discussion?
I just have one question for Chief. The Crownmark, the limited edition, has anybody been in there to check it, see if they're all copacetic?
I have been in several times. Everything is in alignment with what we agreed to when we permitted the license.
Okay.
Have they opened that establishment?
I don't think it's fully open yet.
Okay.
They've got it sectioned off separate from the rest of the businesses, and they're working everything so that it can be secure and appropriate for what we agreed, and it looks just fine.
Good.
But they have not yet started functioning or started operations, to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have approved those retail liquor licenses. The next public hearing will involve limited club liquor licenses. Those are Elks BPO 1726, DBA Elks 1726. Torrington Lodge, number 664, Loyal Order of the Moose, DBA Torrington Moose Lodge, 664. Travis Snow Post, 5, DBA American Legion Club. And that is the extent of the limited club licenses. We'll now open a public hearing. Are there people here tonight who would like to speak in favor of granting those club liquor licenses?
Did you read that one?
City of
Didn't I read that?
One.
Ted informs me that I didn't read City of Torrington DBA Country Club. I'm sorry. Thank you.
They're a little sketchy.
Pardon?
They're a little sketchy anyway.
Anyway, are there people here tonight who wish to speak in favor of that? Are there people here tonight who wish to speak in favor? Are there people here tonight who wish to speak against it? Anyone who wants to speak against that? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing, and council will take your action.
We move to approve these renewals for limited
Councilman
club.
Patterson, thank you for limited liquor license. We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second?
Councilman Kenny, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the limited club liquor licenses. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We have approved the limited club licenses. C, restaurant liquor licenses. There are 2. Tiffany Leslie, DBA Bronco Grill House, and Carly Jones, DBA Deacon's Restaurant. We'll open the public hearing. Are there people here tonight who wish to speak in favor of the restaurant liquor licenses? Are there people here tonight who wish to speak in favor? Hearing none, are there people here tonight who wish to speak against? Is there anyone here tonight who wishes to speak against? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing, and council will undertake your action on restaurant liquor licenses.
I'd move to approve the restaurant liquor licenses as presented.
Thank you, Councilman Kenny. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Kelly, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve restaurant liquor licenses. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Last category is microbrewery permit dual holding. And the only one in town who has that kind of a license is the Open Barrel Brewing Company, LLC, DBA, the Open Barrel Brewing Company. We'll open the public hearing. Are there people here tonight who wish to speak in favor of that license?
Sure, she wouldn't have.
Are there people here tonight who wish to speak in favor? Are there people here tonight who wish to speak against? Are there people here tonight who wish to speak against? Seeing no one rise to the occasion, we'll close the public hearing. Council will await your action.
Chief Johnson, did you have any issues with any of the other liquor licenses that we've approved so far? How about this one? Okay,
I would have a question for Deputy Clerk Anaya. Did we get any further notice from the Liquor Commission regarding the amount of produced alcohol? Do they have till April 1 to meet that criteria?
So it turns out that that's been an issue with microbreweries across the state this year. So they're being kind of lenient on that requirement. They just want to make sure that they're at least 75% of that requirement by 3/31, which they already are at the 75% mark. So they're good to go.
Thank you.
This was an issue last year, I believe, we had talked about.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mr. Eddington.
So we're okay? Okay, we've closed the public hearing. Council, we await your action.
I move to approve the microbrewery permit.
Councilman Kelly, thank you. We have a motion to approve the microbrewery permit dual holding. Is there a second?
Second?
Councilman Kenny, thank you. Motion and a second to approve the microbrewery permit. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Opposed? We have approved all of the liquor license and the transfer. Anything else we need to do with that, Mr. Eddington?
Nope, you're good to go.
Okay, great, good enough. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right, item number 3, agreement for professional services with AVI Professional Corporation. Staff recommends retaining AVI Professional Corporation of Cheyenne for the fiscal year 22 electrical inventory project in the amount of $65,030.12 and reserve $13,000 or 20% for contingency for a project total of $78,030.12. Mr. Harkins, I believe this is yours.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mayor and Council. This project consists of a GPS GIS inventory of all the electrical assets within the city of Torrington electrical distribution system, and that includes all the areas that are outside the corporate boundaries included. Specific assets to be inventory include power poles, transformers, both pole-mounted and pad-mounted, guy wire anchor points, street lights, substations, regulators, and capacitors. Requests for proposals were opened on February 9th, 2022. There were 2 proposals that were submitted in conformance with the RFP instructions. With the results shown below, AVI's bid was $65,030.12, and benchmark was $133,019. The consultant will begin the project as soon as the contract documents are signed and the notice to proceed is issued. The consultant has been given until July 1st, 2022 to complete the project. Funding for this project was provided in the fiscal year 2022 budget under account 53 $82,300 in the amount of $50,000. The additional $28,000 will be included under the same account, which has a fiscal year '22 budget of $90,000.
Anything else? Okay. All right, you heard the information from Mr. Harkins' counsel. Do you have any questions?
I have one question, and you're probably getting tired of hearing this. That's quite a disparity in those two bid prices. Is everything,
I called AVI and verified that all the mobilization and everything was included in their bid, and they assured me that that was all included.
Yeah. Mr. Harkins expressed the same concern that you had. Yes.
well, I'm delighted, but it's,
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm delighted too. but-
Is there a particular reason why we can't do this in-house?
We don't necessarily have the staffing or the equipment to do this. I mean, this is going to be a time-consuming thing. There's over 2,000 to 3,000 locations that have to be, GPSed. So,
But as far as most of the inventory, we should already know that, shouldn't we? The number of poles, the number of transformers.
we
the
have a
number
rough estimate of how many poles in that, but we don't have it where it's on a GIS database to where we can map it and have all the attributes for each of those poles, identified.
Inside and outside of city
Yeah.
limits.
It would take quite some time for us to do something like that.
Yes, it would,
Take months.
if not years.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of money to spend $78,000 to have somebody tell you what you already own.
it's to locate them, all right? To GPS plot them.
Yeah, and then once they have the GPS coordinates, it'll be, put on a layer on our ArcGIS mapping software, and then we can just print maps.
Who will input that information? Will they take care of, the AVI take care of that?
They will put it into what's called a geodatabase. That will then get sent to Max Masters, who's the ArcGIS consultant for the county and city combined. He'll take that and put it into the actual layers.
Is the cost of that included in this bid?
We have a contract with Max Masters already.
Okay.
It's an annual contract for him to do this type of stuff.
So this is providing an additional overlay basically to the
the
water
ArcGIS
department,
software, yeah.
wastewater or so on,
Yeah.
issues we already have.
Exactly.
Make it a whole lot easier for us to locate and identify and so on.
Is this, do you anticipate this being an ongoing project every year or every 2 years or?
No, once it's done, whenever the electrical department adds or subtracts or has to change something out, they can go into the ArcGIS software and update those specific assets.
So this should be a one-time thing?
One-time thing.
So if they just keep it up, that's.
Yeah, it's just like the water, wastewater stuff that they had recently inventoried.
We have a lot of design professionals that use those maps too. So if they're going to design or want to put something in Torrington, they go to all those maps and see all our infrastructure. So it helps them design that a lot.
This is a pretty standard contract, Mr. Eddington?
It is. It's our contract.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, council. Good questions. Further questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I would move to approve the professional services agreement with AVI and accepting the bid that they offered.
Thank you, Councilman Kenny. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Patterson, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the agreement for professional services with AVI. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Appreciate it. Item number 4 is to award the bid fiscal year 2023 chip seal placement. Staff recommends awarding the bid to Top Coat Incorporated of Yankton, South Dakota in the amount of $168,914.58 and a reserve contingency fee of $34,965.42 for a total project of $203,880. Again, Mr. Harkins, and I understand we also have Director of Streets and Sanitation, Edward Hawley, here. So, Jeff, you're on.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council, again. Basically, this is just our annual chip seal project. If you remember last year, we did not do a chip seal project, so this project is significantly larger than the typical annual project that we do. It's not twice as much, but pretty close to what we would typically do. As you see in your agenda, there's 4 streets that we're looking at doing. East P Street, East 20th Avenue, Lupine Drive, and East 28th Avenue. There were 5 bids that were in conformance with the bidding requirements that were opened on the February 2nd, 2022. Top coat being the low bid at $168,914.58. The contract will be given 30 days to complete the project and should be substantially complete by September 9th, 2022. Funding for this project will be established in the 2023 fiscal year budget under account 106740 in the amount of $203,880.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Questions from the council?
What's the criteria you use to pick the street?
It's an evaluation based on Ed's visual ratings and Mark's visual ratings. They go out and look and see which streets would fit for a chip seal treatment. Obviously, we don't necessarily want to chip seal streets that are in need of reconstruction, that are heavily alligatored, stuff like that. We want to pick streets that are in fairly good condition so that we can maintain them and keep them in that good condition.
And just for the public's information, why do we chip seal?
Why do we chip seal?
Why? Yeah.
Why? To preserve the pavement.
The cracks and so on,
Yeah,
and the
I
water
mean,
gets into it.
It seals the cracks, prevents water and snow and ice from getting underneath the pavement, which then kind of, I'm not going to say destroys the subgrade, but weakens the subgrade, and then you'll start getting rutting and other things that would go on with your pavement if you get the subgrade saturated.
Thank you.
Are you gonna do a crack project this year too? Crack fill project?
Crack was already done this fiscal year, and as you remember, we wanted to do a larger crack seal project, or a crack fill project, than what we typically did, and that was already completed.
Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Harkins. I entertain a motion.
I would move to award the chip seal placement to Top Coat Incorporated.
Councilman Patterson, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Kelly, thank you. Have a motion and a second to award the bid for the fiscal year 2023 chip seal placement to Top Coat Incorporated. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, item number 5, ordinance on third reading. Attorney Eddington.
It's an ordinance annexing within the corporate limits of the city of Torrington, Wyoming, real property to be known as the West Airport Addition.
Okay. Mr. Estes, has there been any changes, any concerns, anything brought to our attention that would suggest that we shouldn't do this?
No, sir.
Okay, great. This is the third reading. First and second reading were unanimously approved, so unless you have questions, council, I guess this would be a good time to make a motion.
Go ahead.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance in third reading.
Councilman Kelly, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Kenny, thank you. Motion and a second to approve the ordinance on third reading. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We have approved it. Item number 6 is the approval of the bills from February 2nd, 2022 through February 15th, 2022. Clerk Treasurer Strecker.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Attached to your agenda were a list of those bills, and a second set was handed out tonight. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Noticed on page 3 for the inland truck parts, the digger truck evaluation, did it pass? Anybody know?
I believe so. Haven't heard it hasn't.
I'm sure it did.
If there are no questions, council, I entertain a motion to approve the bills.
I would move to approve the bills.
Councilman Patterson, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Kinney, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the bills. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have unanimously approved the bills. This is a time for public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to the public? Or like speak to the public? Anyone here who would like to speak to the council, ask any questions, whatever? If that's the case, you can come to the podium and take a couple of minutes, and the council will be glad to try to entertain your questions or concerns. I don't see anybody jumping up. Elise, I don't think you're ready to do that, are you? Okay, good enough. Since there are no public comments and Fire Chief Petch isn't here tonight, we'll move ahead to an adjournment. Council.
I would move to adjourn.
Councilman Kinney, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Patterson, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have unanimously approved an adjournment. We are adjourned. Thank you.